Perfect Blue. Like with Western animation, there are a lot of people in Japan that would be considered masters for creating some highly influential animated features. Of course, you got the Studio Ghibli guys like Hayao Miyazaki and Isao Takahata, but then you also got Mamoru Hosoda, Makoto Shinkai, Katsuhiro Otomo, Mamoru Oshii, the list goes on. But among all these Japanese legends, one name that would be considered a true inspiration for many is Satoshi Kon. With his strangely psychological works like Millennium Actress, Tokyo Godfather, and Paprika, his movies would later leave an impact on some acclaimed filmmakers like Darren Aronofsky and Christopher Nolan, to name a few, making Satoshi Kon one of the biggest influences of modern Hollywood. He may have unfortunately died very young at the age of 46, but he is still considered a true legend for what he has done. However, if one wants to fully understand his films, they would have to start at the very beginning with his directorial debut, Perfect Blue. So now that we're looking into his first film where he tells a singer's journey to becoming an actress, is this a great way to start Kon's exploration in the human psyche? Or does it seem more psychotic than anything? Let's find out. The story. At first, it would seem like it would be about a girl's transition from being a singer to an actress. But I guess that would be a little too plain for a movie like this. What the story of Perfect Blue is actually about is a psychological brain twister as it tries to uncover if the main protagonist is actually crazy or not. True, some could say that Mima's career change is quite a large leap from being a fun and innocent pop idol to a gritty screen actress who's not afraid to bear it all. That can be tough to go through and could affect someone psychologically. However, if there is one person whom the movie would rather want to mess their mind more than Mima, it's the viewer. As the movie would progress, it would become a lot harder to distinguish what is reality and what is just a part of Mima's fantasy, where every scene becomes questionable rather if it's actually happening, if it's a dream, or if they're just filming a scene for her movie, resulting in a nerve-wracking and engaging scenario where it would seem like it's getting close to knowing what is the truth.
All right, take 3!
However, as the film may seem pretty insane and would go in a direction that's just all over the place, it's actually a lot clever than it seems. Sure, it would play around with the main character's sanity, but it would also display a message about finding one's identity. How someone would go to dangerous lengths in order to discover who they truly are, including doing actions that they wouldn't be comfortable with, or having toxic people disapprove that the true version might not be what they thought. Also, when it would reach the climax, things do get highly intense, but there would be one element it would reveal that would take a little thought, but would make everything so much sense where all the dots suddenly seem to connect. The story can be compared to a madman. It would seem crazy and filled with nonsense at first, but once you get to understand it, you'll realize that it's actually quite genius that knows exactly what it's doing. The animation. If there's one thing that is more down to earth and doesn't fully go into madness, it would have to be the movie's animation. In fact, this would feature more realistic visuals than most other Japanese animated projects. When looking into the designs, they don't have the usual anime traits like giant eyes or hair with colors of the rainbow that came straight out of an electric shock. Instead, the characters actually maintain a genuine look that they are of Asian descent, along with some shadowing that would have them look more three-dimensional despite this being a 2D movie. But it's not just with the characters that keep things real here. The animation is also another example of realism, where the movements stay true to the human body's limitations. Also, as it is from Japan, the frame rate would often fluctuate from being more still and limited with some of the calmer moments, and then give it a boost to make the characters move more smoothly whenever more action is needed and has to be emphasized. As for the backgrounds, it presents a very busy contemporary Japan where a vast amount of detail would be presented to make the rooms fill with all kinds of stuff and to reflect on real-life suburban culture. It's almost as if it doesn't necessarily have to be an animation and could achieve the same effect if this were made into live action. However, the one element that would explain why it would have to be an animation is when it gets into the mental part. Whenever it shows the illusion of J-pop Mima, she is a lot lighter than her real-life counterpart in several ways. Not only is her color tone brighter, but even when she moves, she would be bouncing around or just completely floating. Also, the use of light would play a role in visualizing Mima's psychosis, as it would frequently fade to white to know when it would switch from fantasy to reality. If there would be one criticism in this, they would honestly be tiny nitpicks. Like, it ain't perfect, but the problems are very minor. It's just that there are some designs that do have a bit of problems. Okay, this guy has problems on purpose, but there are those like Rumi whose eyes look like they're trying to get away from each other and make them unnaturally distant. If you think that's bad, you should see this guy. His eyes are so far apart they aren't even on his head anymore. That and he is dead. But when the movie gets crazy, at least there's some great animation to help keep this down in some form of reality. The characters. While there are a good amount of characters here, this movie is all about its protagonist, and with her mental state going everywhere, she can deliver more than enough character development for the entire feature. So with that said, let's talk about Mima Kirigoe. Originally a J-pop singer, she decided to quit her band to pursue acting, a controversial choice that left some of her fans a bit upset, especially when she would accept to do some scandalous jobs. However, this transition does not go easy on her, as she constantly battles with her own morality and life choices to wonder if she even made the right decision. This would be visually represented with a hallucination of herself that would constantly taunt her that she would have been better off as a singer rather than being naked for the camera. In a way, she is the personification of the pursuit of one's true identity. She would always struggle with her career transition to the point where she would even question her own sanity. She knows that this is her passion and is ready to do whatever it takes to make it as an actress, but there can be times when the jump could even feel too much for her.
Of course I don't want to do it, but I didn't want to tell them that all those people have done so much for me.
It doesn't help either when those around her have mixed reactions with her new choices. With those people, while they may not be as prominent as Mima, they do play a significant part to add a lot either to the story or onto the characterization of the helpless ex-pop star. While some, like her agent Tadokoro and her former bandmates, are supportive of her new acting journey, there are those like her manager Rumi who is a bit concerned that this would ruin her image, but is still willing to help Mima out. But then you got the creepy, deformed stalker. Regarded as meme mania, he is so obsessed with Mima to the point of living in his own little world, even writing a blog where he pretends to be her based on what he sees her do every day. What he ends up doing is just add fuel to the fire of Mima's psychological state, where he ended up creating another Mima that would cause her to question herself on who she truly is. And if his version doesn't connect to reality, then you bet he would invent his own conspiracy theory as his motive to go insane. Rather if they would play a part in Mima's life, or if it's Mima herself, the characters help add so many layers into the movie's psychology, where they can feel so real that it would be surreal. Perfect Blue is a masterfully crafted psychological thriller that explores the dark side of fame and finding one's true identity. With an expertly crafted story, rich and realistic animation, and believably strong characters, it delivers a movie that can be highly engaging while bringing its audience to a mental roller coaster to warp their perspective of reality until the very end. As it is one of those highly praised animes, this movie is a must-watch in terms of Japanese animation. However, I highly recommend that you would have to prepare yourself before watching this. Keep in mind that you would enter into something freaky that would have an R rating if some of the clips shown here weren't obvious. So if you're ready for that, then you'll be in for something amazing. As it is known to be the tremendous start of Satoshi Kon's directorial career in Japanese animated films, I'm sure I wouldn't sound crazy when I give this the AniMat's seal of approval.
Hey guys, this is Annaman, and I want to start things off by giving a huge thanks to Kay McSpadden for her amazing support on Patreon, which allowed her to get some amazing rewards, including this one, where she asked me to go and review Perfect Blue. And wow, honestly, this really did blow my mind, and I just gotta say that this definitely is an amazing start to get interested into Satoshi Kon. So now I'm starting to get a little bit of an idea about his style, because I've read a little bit regarding what he would do, and this really does sound like the kind of things that they would describe that would be some themes in his other feature films, like Tokyo Godfather or Paprika and stuff like that. So honestly, after seeing this one, I definitely am excited to go and check out some of his other movies as well, because this really is the kind of film that he really does put you in a psychological roller coaster. Like, this really is the type of movie that you never know what's going to happen next. Even when I'm watching this, like, at first it seems a little bit strange, but then as the movie would progress, all you can ask is just, what the fridge is going on? But at the very least, what really does make it work is that he knows how to wrap things up at the end, where even after watching all this, suddenly you realize how everything makes sense. And that's one of the things that I really do admire about Perfect Blue. And by the way, I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm not going to say what happened specifically in there. But one thing I shall say is that when the big plot twist does get revealed, then honestly at that point, it really does become probably the best plot twist that I've ever seen in an animated feature. Not only is it really unexpected, but the more you think about it, the more that suddenly everything just seems to make sense. Everything really seems to just fall into place when you start to think about some of the behaviors of certain characters. You start to see their mannerisms, you get a bit of flashbacks about what happens in certain scenes, and then suddenly when you see it all unfurl, then it all makes sense. And at the same time, you do realize what's going on at the same time, especially when there is this big epic climax going on that really does make things highly intense. So honestly, it's an amazing way to wrap things up, and like I said before, it really does make me excited to go and check out what's going to be going on in some of his other movies, to see what else Satoshi Kon can do in order to really wrap up audiences' mind, in order to bring them on a really crazy journey with his movies. So that is definitely something that I'm looking forward to. And again, I want to thank Kay not just for her Patreon support, but to just fully introduce me to the works of Satoshi Kon. This is definitely a great start right there, and I'm glad that I got the opportunity to go and check it out. But now it is time that we shall end off Perfect Blue, and we're going to go and move on to our next movie, which is another Patreon request, and this time it shall be from Justin Kennan. So I just want to go ahead and start things off by saying that if you guys would like to be like Justin and you want to go and support my work and get some amazing rewards at the same time, including seeing my videos before anyone else, then all you have to do, actually, if you want to be like Justin and Kay, can't forget that part. But anyways, if you guys want to do that, then all you have to do is go to patreon.com/animat. But at the same time, if you guys would like to suggest an animated film you would like me to review and I would put onto the animation hat, then all you have to do is just go ahead and write me an email at animatsreviews@gmail.com. Now, with all that said and done, what is it that Justin went and suggests me to go and review? Well, honestly, after seeing what he suggested me to go and analyze, I'll just say though that honestly, I don't think you guys quite realize what we actually got here. So, why don't you all just go ahead and ruminate whilst I illuminate the possibilities. Hit it!